Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up trans rights. Florida trans woman arrested over bathroom protest. A 20-year-old transgender woman from Illinois, Marcy Rheintgen, was arrested at the Florida state capitol after attempting to use a women's restroom. The incident marks the potential first arrest under Florida's controversial laws banning transgender individuals from using facilities aligned with their gender identity. Rheintgen, a college student, deliberately informed police and politicians in advance of her plan, sharing her photo identification and specifying the restroom she intended to use. In a letter, she challenged the law, saying, quote, "I know that you know in your heart that this law is wrong and unjust. I know you know in your heart that transgender people are human too, and you can't just arrest us away." End quote. On March 19, Capitol Police attempted to dissuade Rheintgen from her planned protest. When she proceeded, officers took her into custody on trespassing. According to the arrest affidavit, police alleged that they initially planned to release her with a notice to appear. However, after Rheintgen became what the officers claim as sassy, they feared she might attempt to use the restroom again and decided to detain her overnight. She was released the following day. Reflecting on the experience, Rheintgen said, quote, "Everything that is politics seems very abstract and philosophical from far away. This is the first time it's really affected me. I got arrested, I got sent to jail because of Governor DeSantis' policies," end quote. Florida's restrictive laws prohibiting transgender individuals from using restrooms, changing rooms, and sleeping facilities that match their gender identity in government and public institutions. Rheintgen's arrest underscores the real-world impact of these policies, sparking debate over personal freedoms and transgender rights in Florida. You know, a part of me sees this and is like very like way to go, you know, civil disobedience, the sort of protests we think of Rosa Parks, we think of sit-ins at diners. The only like caveat I have on the other side is like it was an out-of-state person that did this, and I know people are going to criticize that, and there's plenty of people in Florida that can do these protests, but it's a bigger risk sometimes, and I'm still at the end of the day I applaud this young woman for taking the risk, getting arrested, and forcing the conversation, because it is absolute insanity that we're trying to arrest people over which bathroom they're using.
Well, isn't the arrest for trespassing even not correct? It's public property. I mean, I've never been to our Capitol, but if it's during business hours, isn't it open to the general public? So how is that trespassing?
I think trespassing is that she is she is biologically male, or at least by DNA male, and she entered a female restroom. That's where the trespassing is.
Yeah, but semantics is the law is if you're trespassing, you're on property that you're not supposed to be on. So it's public property. So that's faulty right there. So they knew they couldn't get her on something, so they forced something. So that's problematic in the first place.
Well, Florida does have an anti-trans bathroom bill specifically. Correct. That's why she was arrested. If that bill was not passed, they would not have been able to make that arrest.
And she was challenging that. I mean, that's the whole point of it. But also, it's just unconscionable to me that this is even a thing that you can still in the 21st century target and demoralize and dehumanize and demonize a group of people for who they are. My whole life growing up, now I grew up in the sticks, I grew up hillbilly in Arkansas, so maybe we just had it, but mothers would always take their little boys with them to the bathroom because they weren't going to leave them just out, you know what I mean? Or dads would take their little girls, or if there was a long line in the women's room and nobody was in the men's room, women would like veer off. Like it was a bathroom. And so this isn't about bathrooms, and this isn't about safety. This is about marginalizing and demonizing trans people, and that is unacceptable.
Well, and to your point, I mean, people still do that. I mean, I've been at concerts where their fathers are, you know, hey, I'm bringing my daughter in, she needs to go to the bathroom. And
you're not going to leave her alone.
Correct, and nobody says anything about it. So technically, by this law, he can no longer do that. And if the facility doesn't have a family bathroom for him to go, then he's going to have to send his underage child into a women's bathroom by herself. So, like, this is a slippery slope where our government isn't thinking about the ramifications of what it's doing. It's targeting one sector, but it's actually a broader spectrum of what it's going to impact. And then what I challenge is anybody going to stand up and go, hey, father, we have to arrest you because you're bringing your daughter into the men's restroom? That's not going to happen. So now we have double justice there. We've got a law that is good for one person, but not for somebody else. And that is wrong.
And it is deliberately designed that way because they just want to target the transgender folks.
Exactly.
And also, and there's also sort of another purpose is to divide the LGBTQ community. I mean, you cannot imagine how many people I've already said, even in our own community, which is extremely gay, extremely LGBTQ. I mean, Wilton Drive is literally a giant gay strip. And we have heard, I have heard personally quite a few people who basically like, oh, we don't need to help them with this. We don't need to help them with that. And, let them drown. Like, no, this is not acceptable.
No.
But to be honest, I don't know how prevalent that really is, but I do blame, honestly, the LGBTQ nonprofit advocacy groups for how they've handled trans issues in the past. I remember in Massachusetts, the task force, we were dealing with some groups in Massachusetts trying to deal with the anti-trans ballot initiative. And the anti-LGBTQ hate group Alliance Defending Freedom, they were practicing all these different hateful speeches, fears of bathrooms, fears of trans people in different spaces. And we need to take that head on. And all the queer, they were all squeamish of it. And I think that's by letting it just fester in the right-wing crazy spaces with hate groups getting to do it without anyone countering them. That's what sort of led to a lot of the bills that we've seen in the last few years.
I'm going to challenge every queer space in the area. So by building code, I know you have to have so many toilets, so many sinks, so many urinals. But I would encourage everybody to take the male and female signs off of their bathrooms and put signs up saying that it is good for all. I have designed many spaces where they were actually unisex bathrooms, where everybody had a private stall and you all shared a sink. If we all do that, then everybody will feel comfortable. And if you don't feel comfortable personally going into a bathroom when somebody else is there that you don't feel comfortable standing next to, then that's on you. But I think I would allow every queer space to really look at this and go, you know what? We don't like this law. This law is unjust, and do things about it to get rid of it.
Right. And I'm going to ruin the conversation by mentioning religion. But look what I'm wearing. But it's for those people who consider themselves people of faith, I'll just dare to bring up the golden rule. If you wouldn't want to be treated that way, then don't participate in treating people that way. I mean, this isn't a hard ethical question. If you were a member of that community and you were being treated that way, you wouldn't like it. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with people.
Unfortunately, some of our government officials skipped that chapter in text and picked what they wanted to.
Which is funny because to a person, politicians will say, "What's your favorite Bible?" And they will say the Sermon on the Mount, and that's where that's from. Well, that is a big LGBTQ story today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.